Urbanization is not an accident. It is not something that is falling on us. It is something that we can think of, plan, lead the way we want and get to where we want. For the developing countries, because people coming to cities and the city growth is so fast, and yet the capacity to serve is so limited, that it becomes much more of a survival catch-up process than a strategic thinking and guidance process. We just have one chance, and the fact that you have space for growth, you do not have to waste that opportunity and grow unsustainably and then face the consequences of unsustainability. There are already accessible technologies, tools, planning mechanisms and networks upon which you can base your planning and investment in sustainability. I think that the other point is that the power of the individual has outcompeted the power of the public. The divide between those that have and the poor has been much higher. People will live in the same city and they simply have no connection between each other, and they do not know what is happening, and hence the social strife and conflict. So that's why we now need to come back and ask ourselves, who does the city belong to? The 2030 Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals, and the New Urban Agenda all are saying one language. Let's be as inclusive as possible and ensure we leave no one behind. We need to be the cornerstone of knowledge, evidence. We need and we work closely with our sister agencies. You know that there's a pool of knowledge that you can tap into. We need to cover the gap from that evidence-based research between the good policies and their implementation at local government level. There are areas where city leadership should lead. There are many other areas where they should just facilitate. And when you bring on board private sector, especially civil society, your people as the center of this, then you play a catalytic role, and that's what the world is looking for. When I left Parliament and became mayor of Kigali, we were at that time developing a master plan for the city. And the most critical part was now, once it was endorsed, how do we implement it? We needed to work out now the legal framework, and also the inclusion of youth and women and the rest. Those people who are poor, who are not able to, who are living in the informal settlements of Kigali, how could they be part and parcel of the beneficiaries of this whole master planning process? And so the UN came in, UN Habitat, UNDP, UN Women, and we created mechanisms of planning, of resettlement of people, and of creation of jobs. We look at urban planning and design, urban governance, land and legislation, and urban economy. So when we bring the three together, we get the technical tools that help us to get the voice of the woman, the youth, everybody. I'll give an example of what we've been able to do in Afghanistan and Iraq. What we've been able to bring on board are the tools of planning and tools of identifying what the gaps are in the middle of the crisis, to ensure that when, say, following a level of destruction, when we are building back, how do we engage the communities to plan for their reconstruction, make sure that when we build back better with greener construction, and then we mobilize the private sector and civil society to participate in that.